Hi there. So today I just wanted to kind of create a video because I know a lot of people out there are potentially starting quite a long period of working from home. It's a bit of a crazy, strange time that we're in right now, and there's a lot of people who have been probably used to working in offices or wherever, and are now being told actually they need to work from home. So I've actually worked from home for, well, quite a long time. The first time I started working from home when I was working for Vodafone back at, well, before the turn of the century. And I was actually one of the first people to be allowed to work from home, which was quite an interesting time as well, because back then I used to have to prepare my daily work list for the things I was going to do when working from home, have that agreed by my manager, and then when I returned back to the office I had to go through that checklist and make sure I'd done everything and explain why I had done more or less or whatever. Since then I've worked for many international companies where I quite simply can't go to the office because it's thousands of miles away. So I really have spent a good 20 years or so working from home, if not all of the time, then a good deal of the time. And there's just a lot of things that I've picked up which hopefully I can help you with. I've provided a blog post as well, so if you check out the links below the video, then you will hopefully get some of those some of the tips in there. But in this video I just want to cover really on three things. So if we go over to my whiteboard over here, I've already prepared a few of them. I'm not entirely sure you can see them all with reflection, so maybe I could do better next time, but we can talk through them anyway. So key things, really, the three key things are routine, communicate, and space and place. So even though you're working from home, doesn't mean that you should break your routine. The routine is still very important, so figure out what time you want to start work, what time you want to finish work, and when I say you want to start, obviously your employer or your clients may have their own ideas of when and when you should start and when you should finish, but make sure that this is something that you can stick to. For me, I always like to be in my office here in my shed at a normal time, so it's either 9:30 depending on what clients want, and then I always try and make sure that I finish my evenings at an appropriate time in the evening. But your routine is more than that as well. If you're working in your own space and you're not surrounded by other people in the office as well, then you can really control that routine a lot better. So make time for things to do when you're at your most creative. So for me, I like to record these videos in the morning. I like to do some of my blog posts in the morning. I like to solve problems in the mornings because I'm more creative. In the afternoon, I do different things because my brain works differently in the afternoon. So make sure when you're thinking about your day, you think about it from that point of view as well. The other important thing about a routine is to make sure that you find adequate time for breaks and to go and do something else. It can be really difficult if you're spending all your time at home to get cabin fever, to get locked in and just not see anybody. It can be really easy to get into that state as well. So make sure that you set aside some time, even if it's a lunch break, to go out and take a wander around the street or go and see a friend or something for lunch. And lunch and food and drinks are all very important as well. Make sure you take your breaks. Just because you're working at home doesn't mean that you have to really kind of go over and above to demonstrate why you're such a good home worker. The key thing for you to do is just be consistent and deliver, keep up your productivity, and people will see why it's okay to have you working from home. If you skip your breaks, if you don't have your routine set out properly, it's really hard to keep up that productivity. So routine is so important. You really need to have that with your breaks, your start time and your end time. So the next things we've got over here is communicate. It's really important to make sure you're communicating all the time. Communicate with your colleagues, communicate with your co-workers, and there's this saying, out of sight, out of mind, and it's really true. If you're not together, you can sometimes forget about each other. So make sure you go above and beyond to really communicate the kind of things that you're talking about, the kind of things that you're working on. Also, when you're in an office space, you have those accidental chance encounters as well. So when you're at home, when you're working at home, you don't get those. So make them. You pick up the phone, give somebody a call, send somebody an email that you wouldn't normally speak to. Maybe they're not in your team, not in your project, but try and create those chance encounters, because they're really important. When you're walking around the office and you have those kind of things, those corridor conversations can be incredibly valuable, incredibly important. So if they're not going to happen by happenstance, make them happen yourself. So that's communicate. It's really important. Space and place. So space and place. This is my space. It's a converted shed. It's warm. It's comfortable. It's got everything I need. And right now it's got a bit more than I need because we're moving a few things around, so there's lots of junk over here. But it's my space, and I can shut the door and I'm not interrupted by the children. I'm not interrupted by many other things that could break my routine or knock me kind of off of course. That said, if you've ever been on a conference call with me, particularly now, the kids are at home and they're sick, it can be, I do often get, the kids walking in and asking questions when I'm in the middle of a conference call. So these things happen, but try and find that place where you can minimize that. Before I had this shed, I had somewhere else in the house that was mine, and it was less isolated and separate from the rest of the house, but it was still my place. So that was where I went, and when I went to that place, I had my office equipment there, I had my work stuff there, and I knew that when I was sitting at that desk, then that was my time to work. When I left that desk and I went somewhere else, I could forget about work. And that's another really important thing, to be able to segregate work and life. If you just work wherever you can, on the sofa, in the kitchen, if you're walking around with your phone all the time, then it can be difficult for your mind, your own mind, but also the other people around you, to realize actually now you're at work and now you're not at work. So in summary, there's those three things, okay? There's routine, communicate, space and place. They're so important. If you want to know more on all of these, go to the blog, read the article there. You can find the blog at www.wellthat'sinteresting.tech, and you can also find me on Twitter and Facebook as well. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, just let me know. Share this video if you think some of your friends or colleagues would find it useful. And thank you so much for listening.